was out in the garden and my rhubarb is actually, you know, shading so many other things. I was having some challenges with it. So it's ready and I decided to just pick it all. I only had, I think it was maybe two, I don't know, they're real close together, but I had 2 rhubarb crowns come up this year. So let me show you how much rhubarb I got and how I'm gonna process it. So this is the rhubarb that I picked, and you actually cut off the big leaves because they are, you know, toxic, but the stem themselves, they're very good in pies, and you can cook rhubarb down and just eat it plain. You can make it into bread, all kinds of things, muffins. So this was my harvest of rhubarb that I got. So let me show you what I do. So I have a big sink full of water. I'm gonna add a little bit of vinegar to that just to kind of sanitize the rhubarb a little. I'm gonna clean it with the vinegar and then I'll do another wash with just water. So all I'm gonna do is take my rhubarb. If it doesn't fit, I'm gonna cut it in half. I want all of the rhubarbs submerged in the water. And I've got quite a bit here, so some of these will fit. Some of them are shorter, some of them are longer than others. But you can see there's a lot of dirt that comes off of the rhubarb. And there were some buggies, not a lot. I mean, you know, rhubarb's one of those things, you may lose a couple stalks, but overall, if you grow it, you know, it's easy to freeze, it's easy to take care of for, you know, lots of recipes in the winter. It's a great product to grow in your garden, and it is kind of large, so if you're gonna grow rhubarb, just make sure you've got room. It really spreads out. And I live in Southern California, so initially I just didn't know if I was gonna be able to grow it or not. Everybody that I knew kept saying, oh no, it's not cold enough to grow rhubarb. Well, I bought the Victoria rhubarb, and this particular rhubarb only gets a little pink on some of the ends. For the most part, it's a green rhubarb. And so it tastes delicious. It makes wonderful pies and things like that. So let me finish getting this ready so that I can get it all in the water here, and then I'll show you the next step. So the next step in this process is that I'm going to, here's a good one here to show you. So there's 2 sides of the rhubarb. One side comes out of the ground and it's got kind of this pointy edge, and then the other side is the part that attaches to the leaf. So I've already cut the part off that attaches to the leaf, but this part here always has kind of a slimy, it's just kind of a nasty part that grows out. So what I do is I take a sharp knife and I just cut down on a diagonal, and there you go. The rhubarb's good to go. I put it in a fresh tub of water. Some of these are going to be the top halves, so I don't need to do anything to those. But the ones that need cut, this one I think cut it pretty good, but I'm just going to cut it and make sure that that edge is nice and straight, kind of on a diagonal. So, and some of these are going to be really long. I'm going to just cut them in half. And here's a good one. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut that on a diagonal. You're basically taking that flowery end out. And there you go. I'm gonna cut it in half and put it in the bucket of clean water. And I'm gonna finish all these rhubarb, and then I'll show you how we cut them up. So as you can see, the rhubarb grows really close to the dirt, so you're going to get a lot of dirt and leaves and debris. So now that I have the rhubarb cleaned, what I'm going to do is just cut it into kind of bite-sized pieces. Now, if you have really thick pieces of rhubarb, you may want to, you know, just score them down the middle, but It's a really easy process. In the past, I've actually dried the rhubarb on the counter in the larger pieces, but I found through time that if you dry them when they're already cut, they actually dry much faster and you can get them processed a lot quicker. You don't really want to leave them out on your counters all day and all of that. You can see they're very tough. They're very fibrous, but when you cook them, you know, it really changes the texture. So look at how thick that piece of rhubarb is. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and cut that in half, and I actually think I'll cut some of those in half just to make it easier to cut into pieces. So that's really all there is to it. When these are completely dry, which will be like an hour or two, then I'm going to put these into airtight bags with my food saver. And it's kind of funny. Sometimes you cut them and they just start kind of turning into a flower. It's the weirdest thing, but it's all good. These are very delicious. Rhubarb isn't something that you can really eat without sugar. I mean, I guess you could if you really like something super sour, but you really need sugar to make this taste good. One of my favorite ways to eat rhubarb is a strawberry rhubarb jam. And I make this every single year. The strawberries right now are still, you know, nice and tasty at some of our local organic farms. So I will probably pick up some strawberries and make some jam within the next week. But in the meantime, they really hold their shape, their flavor, everything just by freezing them. So this morning, that's my goal, just to get these cut up before I leave. And then as soon as I put them together in the airtight bags, I'll show you how they look before they go into the freezer. Well, that ended up becoming a much larger job than I thought it was going to be. Last year I had like 4 big rhubarb plants and I didn't have nearly this much rhubarb. This is one plant. I'm going to show you how much rhubarb I cut up. It's unbelievable. Look at this. It's so much rhubarb. Oh my goodness. So I'm definitely going to be making some strawberry rhubarb jam in the next week or so. And then I'm going to process it a couple of different ways. So I ended up with 2 huge gallon-sized jars, and I've decided that I'm going to process this rhubarb into strawberry rhubarb jam, and then I'm going to process the rest of it, well, 80% of it, I'm going to make into rhubarb pie filling. So I'll be doing a couple of videos on that. I'll link them just as soon as I get those done over the next couple of weeks. But I hope you'll give rhubarb a try as far as growing it. It's easy to grow. It's really a delicious thing to have on hand, and it stores really well. So thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.